So what drew you to comic books and wanting you to be a comic book artist?
Well, as a kid, I grew up in the 70s, and my dad used to have this tub full of old, creepy, eerie Vampirella and Savage Sword of Conan magazines. And I probably was too young to be reading those, but I just loved them, you know. And then I turned them into coloring books because they were in black and white. So, I guess that process sort of led to the visual storytelling. And then from there, it was Marvel all.
It's a very intimate way to get familiar with the art style for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And and just for the record, I can't judge. I can't say anything. I read The Dark Half by Stephen King when I was in like fourth grade. I was 8 years old or something like that. So yeah, sometimes we find things when we're gonna find them, whether or not we're supposed to.
Yeah, my mom was a huge Stephen King fan. So, I mean, we had that around the house. And when I ran out of comics to read, I would pick up a Stephen King book. I started with the Dark Tower books.
When it's funny, that's exactly where I started. It's funny to me that I'm not a big King fan these days because he's kind of crazy on Twitter. He absolutely has an unbridled love and passion for that early era horror comic, like that. The Tales of the Crypt era kind of stuff. That just the classic. And there's a certain man. I wish I could have grown up in that era. Not that I'm complaining. I grew up in the '90s when we had the X-Men TV show, and so we had our own stuff to love. But as a horror person, like I feel like we didn't have much in that realm, and it was just such a dearth of it because of what pulp was doing in the '50s.
Yeah, I think where Stephen King, when he's at his strongest, is when he's in touch with the pulp roots. Because he first started trying to break in writing for magazines like Cavalier. And I've heard it said that he is a pulp writer who aspires to being a literary writer, whereas Gaiman is a literary writer who aspires to be a pulp writer. And I can't remember where I heard that, but I was like, it kind of makes sense.
That is actually really funny. um, so, why don't you tell me a little bit more about, I guess, what you're working on right now and what that looks like?
Well, right now I've got a book coming out next month called "The Brotherhood of Secret Darkness and Other Cults, Cabals, and Conspiracies," and it's a collection of 13 illustrated short stories dealing with cults, cabals, and conspiracy theories. So it's probably going to get suppressed, you know, because it has that bad word "conspiracy" in it. But
So you mean I've been marketing my other podcast all wrong by making sure it's hashtagged and everything?
yeah, I've got a YouTube video trailer up, but you know how YouTube is, so I probably got to go and see what I can do with that. But that grew out of just the way the world has been for the past few years. I was letting it get to me, and it caused a lot of I don't know, angst, and that led to writer's block. And so I figured the best way to take that was to go head on. And so I wrote stories about conspiracy theories, and it became the core of this collection.
So I'm curious when you talk conspiracy theories, are we talking like modern stuff? We talking old classic stuff? Cults and cabals. That starts reminding me like I've got a whole bunch of books on the history of secret societies and stuff back there. I think I saw Dan Brown and was like, "Oh, there's how far does these rabbit holes go? Let's see what's out there." And there's some interesting stuff from time, and whether or not you put any stock into it, there is a lot of history behind the idea. Like, yeah, the Illuminati existed one way or the other. Were they as powerful or what we think of as the Illuminati? Do they still exist? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, and what are they? I mean, if they do exist.
So, what angle do you attack this from? Do you kind of get into the history of it, or you're doing more of like a narrative using the societies as a setting kind of thing?
No, it's more of a connective tissue because I'm pretty much hardcore pulp. There's got to be some kind of adventure of whether it's the mystery or the straight up fighting the monster kind of thing. So uh, you know like I said, those Savage Sword of Conan, he was always going up against cults here and there, and that's just in my DNA now. So, I've got stories in there about aliens. I've got stories about, pagan gods. I've got stories about secretive cults. I mean, it's all in there as a.
Do you do it from? Do you do? Is it? Do you like it set in modern times, set in history, kind of like a combination of the two?
Well, in this story, yeah, it's kind of all over the place, or this collection of stories. But I'm a history nerd, so a lot of my stories have some historical reference. Like the novel Project Notebook is set in 1947. It's kind of, um, I guess the best way to describe it would be like a noir X Files set at the beginning of the Cold War.
Set in the Cold War, huh?
Yeah, right after World War II.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, the concept, it's like a team of World War II vets are assigned to
Hmm.
investigate the Maury Island incident. And basically everything goes wrong at the beginning. And it's just,
See, and this is why I immediately tried to get an episode with you because I saw little nuggets of things like, oh no, I'm gonna love this. This guy's into some cool stuff.
like I said, I just, all this stuff goes in and it has to come out.
Out of curiosity, where is your place on Lovecraft?
Oh, I'm a Lovecraft fan. I've got books up here. Him and Robert E. Howard. I love the way that they both come at things from opposite angles. There's this round robin story they did where Lovecraft started it, and this guy gets his identity swapped out with an alien, and then when Robert takes it over, instead of the hero becoming a quivering mass of fear, he winds up taking over the planet. And I'm like, well, that's just their identities, in a nutshell, right there.